Story time. So, for those of you that know me, that been following me for some time, but I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys in on a little bit more about myself, my childhood and stuff. So, I had a father who was a single father, and my father, he was a man of God, and I always used to see him at the foot of his bed crying and praying, and I never understood it. I used to always think, he's sad. There was probably times that he was sad, but now that I have a walk with God, I kind of have an idea that some of those times that he cried could have been tears of joy, overwhelmed by the Holy Spirit. It could have also been times where we had some hard times. But my father, pretty much, he worked a full-time job. He helped a retired sheriff on the weekends at his farm. And he also helped, people fix their cars. And he used to buy cars and flip them to make money. So we could survive, obviously. And he spent time with us. And as he, spends time with us and stuff like a father, we had those good times, that even the things that you would think nowadays that kids wouldn't be into because everybody's into games, tablets, distracted by all these things. Just us getting our wagon and going out for a walk downtown through the alleys, before the sunset goes down, just to look for cans. That was the funnest part. The best part was when we finished finding all the cans, was when we would go to the waterfalls and we would just watch the waterfalls. And then from there, we would walk up the street to this grocery store called Safeways. And they had like a recycling thing for cans there, and we would get money. And then he would take us to this little corner store where we can get candy and stuff. So he taught us and he raised us up well, to be appreciative with what we had. So we had a good father, right? And I'm grateful for that. On top of that, him being a single father, I remember when he brought my mother's brother and his family into the house because they didn't have nowhere to go. And I remember when he brought another single father into the house that had like 5 kids. All his kids were like boys. And my dad was like so overprotective. And he made sure that he always, told the boys, don't you dare, touch my daughters. And I have 3 brothers, 2 older ones, 1 little brother, and 1 sister that, is a year younger than me. But anyways, my father was just the type that always wanted to help everybody. And everybody in this little town that we were from, everybody knew him. He was well known. He kind of reminded me of like Elvis Presley, where like all the women wanted him, but he wasn't really attracted to no woman. He didn't care for the woman, really. And it's really not like that he didn't want a woman. It was just like he was so focused and he loved his kids so much that he didn't want to get involved with the women. And then plus he still had love for my mother, in hopes she would come back. But I'll talk about her here in a little bit, about what I know about her. But I had a good childhood, and I'm grateful that I was raised by a father that was a man of God. He may have not been the perfect father, but to me, he was. He was. And I'm just really grateful for that. I remember, all the moments that he even took his brother in when his brother got really sick and ill, and he took care of his brother, and then I remember when, we finally moved out of state, and it was because he took my mom to court for child support, and she gave up her rights because she didn't want to pay child support. So we pretty much like left because she didn't want to be a part of it. And so like around the time that we left, I don't know, I was probably like, I want to say like 8 or 9, somewhere around there. And we went closer to where my grandma was, but then later on, fast forwarding it to when we became teenagers, like I was about 12 years old, my mom decided to come in the picture. And I remember when we were in the States, like she used to run from us anytime that she seen us at my uncle's house. Her brothers, like she would run from us and like disappear, like she didn't want us to see her getting in her car. So that kind of hurt me, but when she tried to come back around into our lives, she got a hold of my uncle. My uncle got in touch with my father and asked my father, she wants to be a part of the kids' life. We thought that was kind of strange, but we went ahead and gave her a call. But my little brother, like, he was scared of her. When she finally came into the state where we were at, she came with some guy that she was dating, and he drove her up there to come for us, and we were just supposed to go on vacation with her. She promised us, that she was gonna take us to Disneyland, and like made all these commitments that she never did. Nothing made sense to me. I was just excited because she wanted to be a part of our life. But later on, I'll tell you guys more stories about what really happened. It gets really deep. But long story short, my little brother saw her. He's like, Dad, please don't let me go with that lady. He was so scared. He was so devastated. He was crying. I don't know that lady. Don't let me go with that lady. But me and my other siblings went with her, right? And things weren't going well the first day I went with her. She told me I wasn't her daughter. She couldn't stand me because my brothers and sisters looked up to me. And pretty much it is what it is, I called my father crying, and my father, he pretty much was like, I'm just going to go get you. My father was already planning on, moving back to the States because she wanted to be a part of our life, so he comes back and, he gets his own place again, and gets us a place, and he comes and picks me up and gets into like a little altercation with my mom because my father like was so overprotective of me. I never understood it, but now that I'm older, I know why, because God really selected me out of my family. And when I lost my father back in 2011, I truly believe that, I don't even want to ruin or spoil the story, so I'm not going to tell you what I believe happened to my father. But anyways, stay tuned for, I'm just going to keep going until my storage runs out of storage, okay? And then you guys are going to have to wait for the rest. And so, like, he came and, I went back with him or whatever. And then shortly after, I remember, like, my older brother, like, he was just starting to do really bad things. And he was getting away with a lot of stuff that my father would never, let him do or allow him to do, because my father just wanted to see us successful. He wanted us to have, a good career and everything. And he really had a lot of trouble with my older brother. My older brother dropped out of school early, and like, he really wanted the best. Like, he really favored my older brother, bought him like a game every weekend. He tried to spend time with us a lot. And like, I don't know, my older brother, I just feel kind of like there's something that we don't know. Like, there's a part of me that makes me feel like he's not really my brother. Like, he's my brother because he's from the same mom, but not the same dad. And like, the reason what makes me feel like this is because my mom and her sister, like, when I got older, I ended up finding out a lot of information about them. But like, a lot of stuff got exposed. And you guys are going to be surprised what I'm about to tell you guys. But I'm going to save that for later. But they were like really sneaky, and they had hidden agendas. They always got with men that had a lot of money, and men that like sold drugs and stuff like that. And later on, it ended up coming out that my older cousin, well, my little cousin, her dad came to me and was like, this is my mom's sister's kids. Her dad came to me and was like, I'm not her real dad. Like, they've been hiding this from you guys. So that's why it makes me believe that my older brother is not the same dad as mine. And that's why I kind of like feel the way that I feel, because it's like this hidden agenda, these secrets, like, now that I have this walk with God, like, everything has to come to the light. Everything that is hidden in the closet gots to come out. Everything that's in the dark gots to come out. God's going to expose it. Whether you try to hide it or not, everything, God is already exposing everything, if you guys haven't noticed. And let me tell you, God's exposed so much, because my little sister and my little brother ended up finding like this box in my mom's room one time. They broke into her room because they like were curious. They wanted to know who she was. They wanted to know everything about her. So they were so extra nosy. One day I came home, and this was when we were still staying with my mom before my dad came. And they said, we found witchcraft books in her closet and different driver's license with her picture with different names. I promise y'all this is going to get good because God started unfolding everything, and it's just wow. You know, my little brother and my sister were like, we won't, let's call the cops on her. You know, like I was like, well, if we call the cops, then what's going to happen? Like, where are we going to go? You know, at that time, I didn't really know, you know, and I didn't know how serious this was, that when I knew, you know, that they found this stuff, I was just like, you guys, like, just put it back, you know, because I was afraid what would happen to us, you know. But at least we knew this hidden agenda, you know, we knew behind the devil's schemes, right? And so anyways, um they get mad at her one day and they start throwing it in her face. We saw your fake names, and they started calling her out by her fake names, started exposing the witchcraft books. And one thing about me is I was like the peacemaker. I used to tell my little brother and sister, no, it's not right. You know, you can't talk to mom like that. Like you got to respect her, you know, even though I knew she had hidden agendas and I knew there was something behind all of this. I still told them they always got to be the better person, you know. And plus, you don't disrespect mom, you know. She's still our mom, regardless of what hidden agenda she has, you know. Let pretty much let God deal with that. And they wouldn't listen to me, like, and she was in total denial when they were telling her. She was in total denial. She's like, you don't even know what you're talking about. I don't have different names, and I don't have witchcraft books. And she was in total denial. The fact that as I got older and figured that she was in total denial, she was keeping these things a secret. What was she really doing? And you could put in the comments whatever you feel, whatever, but before I say anything and continue my story, I've already forgave my mother. I love my mother. And even though she did what she did, I'm not God to judge her. She's still my mother. You know, I just been set apart from her and away from her because I don't trust her. And I just intercede and pray for her that God will deliver her from whatever hidden agenda or anything that she has going on, and that everything that is hidden come to the light and be exposed. And I know he's going to expose it. So let me just clear that up, because trust me, I've already forgiven her. So let's go ahead and continue with the story. So I'm kind of like in the background, you know, just like I'm knowing all these things are going on, but I'm just like paying attention to like her every move, and kind of like the analyzer, you know, like being respectful to her, but still my eyes are open. And I start noticing this guy that she's with. She's always fighting with him. One day he tells us that she takes his checks and she makes him sleep out in his car. Sometimes she kicks him out and doesn't let him in. She takes off and she goes out on him and stuff like that. And then one time she just left him. And I think she left him because later on, when I got older, when I had my own kid and my own husband, my grandfather told me, her father told me that the whole time we were living there, he was paying the rent for her. So I think that's why she left that guy. I don't know. I don't want to assume, but it's just weird how everything happened, right? Stuff started coming out and being exposed as I was getting older. Like my mom doesn't even know a lot of the stuff that I know, because I'm not the type to like throw it in her face. I just let God handle it, right? And I just act like I don't know anything. But anyways, she's starting to go out to this bar, and bringing in different men every weekend. Then things start getting worse to where, you know, my older brother had his own room because we lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. She had her own room. Me and my little brother and my sister had to sleep in the living room. And there would be times my little sister would be on the couch when she get home from being drunk or whatever, and she would just attack my sister and scratch her face up and beat my sister up for no reason. For no reason. in the times that she was due it, I would be at work because I ended up getting a job because I needed to get out of this house as much as possible. I needed to get out of this house. And I had a plan. I was going to get us an apartment. I was going to take my little brother and sister with me because, long story short, she ended up, I believe, hiring somebody when she found out that my father had a warrant for something he didn't do. My father didn't even know he had a warrant. So it was just something cricket. Like, I'm telling you, the people she was involved with, like, she knew lawyers, she knew police, she was involved with the cartels and all of this stuff, right? And my father ends up going to jail. So I'm like, I gotta get us out of here. And we were crying because we'd never been apart from my father. Like, never. If my story resonates with you, then put it in the comments. Because I promise you, I'm sharing this to let you all know how I overcame these things and how I recognize God moving on our behalf and how God exposed everything. I promise you all this all. I went through so much in life. This isn't even like, this is just a tip of the iceberg of what I went through in my life. And the things that I went through, I mean, a person would break down and would just like give up on life and just find anything, drugs, alcohol, anything to numb the pain. But I did the opposite. I stood in the background and I analyzed it until I just couldn't take it. And then I'll get to that part later on in the story, because I did end up having an alcohol problem because I was just so hurt not knowing what to do. Especially after finding out that my little brother found these witchcraft books, I was even more concerned. Like, I remember I had like this little vanity in the hallway by the bathroom between my mom and my brother's room, and I used to kneel in front of that little vanity and I used to pray right there. Like, that was my little spot right there. I would pray right there. And I actually followed after my father's footsteps. I didn't even know how to pray or anything. I just spoke to God because that is how we talk to God. Actually, we just talk to him. When we pray, we just talk to him like because he's there, he's listening. There's no wrong way or right way to pray. You just talk to him because he's there and he's listening. He knows our hearts, he hears our cries. So going back to my father, he ends up in jail for something he didn't do, right? And then she's so excited that my father's in jail. My father had got like a $10,000 settlement. And remember I told you my father would buy cars and he would fix them up and he would flip them and sell them for more. And then he worked for the retired sheriff and he worked his full-time job to survive, to take care of us. And we were on housing, so he was getting some help for us, you know. But on top of that, like, somebody set up my father when he got all this money. I don't know who it was or who had something to do with it, but sent this girl in to say she was a certain age and she wasn't the age that she was telling my father. And they asked my father for a ride home. And that same night that, you know, that they had came over, my father told them, you know, they have to leave. So they got on the phone, pretended to call somebody, and they were calling the cops, screaming and crying and saying that my father tried to do something to them just to take my father's money. They told my father if he didn't give them a certain amount of money that he was going to tell the cops that they were going to tell the cops that he tried to do something to them. So that's what ended up happening, and my father ended up going to jail, right? It was a whole setup, right? But my father got out of jail. But while he was in there, that was her way, my mother's way, to going and getting custody of us right away. My father had this record, so she's like, he can't have his kids and he can't even be around kids, blah, blah, blah. So my father, let me tell you, he's a man of God. My father didn't even like have a girlfriend. Like, that was not even on his mind. And we were there the whole time with my father when this girl tried to say this, when she tried to set up my father. Later on, fast forwarding a little bit, when I got older, when I had my own daughter, this girl came to me and said that her friend lied about the whole thing. So I want justice for my father. So when I go back to, my hometown, I'm going to make sure that I go to the courts. I'm going to make sure that I go tell them that this girl came to me and she told me and she was honest and she said, my friend set up your dad because he didn't want to give us any money. But this was after the fact that my dad already passed away, you know? But let's just go back to the story. I just wanted to say that part, you know? I knew my father was innocent. I knew this was a setup. But anyways, my mom ends up getting custody of us. She goes and starts applying for, assistance for us and all this and that. And it's just like, it's just sad. Like, she pretty much, like, I don't know, like, I feel like there was a curse put on my father. Um, it was just devastating, But my father didn't die until 2011. So, like, obviously he was in prison. He had to do some time for something he didn't do. So that's why. So not only did we get stripped from our father, a man, that we were so close to, a father that, that raised us by himself and put into the arms of this woman that was our, our biological mother that we had no relationship with, we had no bond with, and she wasn't even allowing us to have that bond with her because the way that she was moving, I almost felt like she was just sacrificing her own kids, for her own good. I feel like it was just some type of cover up because later on, like, the FBI ended up coming and knocking at the door. They were just like regular people, and they came and they said they had to take our mom. We didn't know why they were taking her, but they had to take our mom. Then later on down the road, I ended up finding out that her dad, my grandpa, who lives in a farm that we were raised up at, that the FBI went and raided his house in helicopters and everything because my mom was getting mail there and she was involved with the cartels. And we're going to go ahead and end it there. So far, if you like my testimony, my story, then please put it in the comments and let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you could resonate with the things or something similar that I went through. But I'm going to go ahead and end it there because my storage is already full. And we'll just make this part 1 of my testimony, okay? I just want to let you guys know a little bit more about what I went through in life. Other than that, I had a good time, being able to share this and being vulnerable. And I'm going to explain everything in detail because of God, because of the Lord Jesus Christ, I have always been protected, me and my siblings and my father. And God selected me out of the family to break these curses.